All right, good evening, class, or good afternoon. I'm not sure when you decided to tune into this video, but either way, I'm glad you're here. So I decided to post and make this video because tomorrow we are starting a new unit on a play called A Raisin in the Sun. We'll go over, background and such tomorrow. However, today I want to go over some important vocabulary that we are going to come across in the poem Harlem, Dream Deferred by Langston Hughes. This poem is actually what inspired A Raisin in the Sun. So before we start the unit, I want to preface it with this poem. So tomorrow, we will read Harlem by Langston Hughes together as a class, and then we are going to analyze the poem's relationship to A Raisin in the Sun. Today, however, I want to look at important vocabulary in Harlem. So before I look at the vocabulary, which as you can see are highlighted in red, I want to read aloud this poem, and as I'm reading, I want you to use context clues, or I want you to use my tone, and I want you to use the words around it to kind of have an idea of what the words might mean. Alright, so, what happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat? Or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load. Or does it explode? Alright, so let's look at our first word, deferred. Alright, to defer is a verb which means to wait or put off an action or event. As you can see, the word deferred is past tense. So, some synonyms for deferred or to defer is to wait, postpone, put off, delay, suspend, or hold off on an action or event. We're going to use it in a sentence, okay? And we're going to use our technique of first using a sentence using the actual word, so deferred or to defer, and then we're going to replace our vocabulary word with one of our known synonyms, okay? So you can use whichever synonym you want, but I just went ahead and chose one. So using our unknown word or vocabulary word, I didn't want to read A Raisin in the Sun, so I deferred it until last minute. Now I'm going to go ahead and replace it with one of our synonyms. I didn't want to read A Raisin in the Sun, so I waited until last minute. 2 is fester. Fester is also a verb, which means to become infected. Some synonyms for fester are to form pus, decay, rot, or spoil. We're going to use the same technique, alright, using them in sentences, first with our vocabulary word. If you don't clean a cut, it will fester. Using a synonym, alright, if you don't clean a cut, it will become infected. As you can tell, both sentences mean the same thing. I'm just using different words for the final sentence. And finally, to crust is a verb. It means to form a hard outer layer. A synonym for this is to harden. Now, for a word like crust, it's a very visual word, so putting in a sentence might not necessarily help us understand the meaning, and that's okay. So for this, I decided to use pictures to show what crust means. And no, I don't mean pizza crust. Alright, so before and after picture. Before, we're going to use honey, okay? Notice that the honey in this picture is, very liquid, and there's nothing hard about it. It looks like your typical normal honey, all right? But after it crusts or hardens, all right, we see a crystallized, rough, and grainy substance that does not look like honey that we would put on a sandwich or anything. Alright, so that's the end of this mini lesson. I hope you guys wrote it down. You guys can watch it again if you don't understand. But tomorrow we're going to go ahead and use the information we learned today and apply it to the poem, and hopefully that will get us off to a great start with A Raisin in the Sun. See you tomorrow.